Good evening, everyone. Really excited to have amongst us all the dignitaries from the world of education right here. And we are here gathered on screen virtually, for the launch of not one, but three books together. And this series is No, I'm Not. And we have No, I'm Not an Elephant, a Kangaroo, and a Taken. So from the land of Takens, we have Karma Galen. So Karma, namaste. We have
Namaste,
Amina
Ji.
Gurang. Namaste, Amina Gurang ji. And from our a land of kangaroos, we have Samantha Page. So hi, Samantha.
Hello.
And from our very own land of tigers and elephants, we have Dr. Swati Popat. Vats.
Namaste.
Hello. So it's a proud moment for us to have all these dignitaries from the world of education right here, from the early child education, not only representing their countries, but they have come together and they have made and they have given their inputs for these three books. So, not wasting much time, I would like to introduce officially. So, I would start with Karma Gelag. Karma Gelag works as early childhood educationist specialist with the Ministry of Education in Bhutan. He's a passionate advocate of early childhood development and is one of the pioneers of early childhood care and development programs in the country. He has also participated and contributed internationally in networks such as the World Forum for Early Child Education, Asia Pacific Regional Network for Early Childhood, and South Asia Forum for Early Childhood Development Professionals. So quite a lot, you have done in your own field. So namaste and welcome once again.
Thank you.
Now we would move forward to our next guest of honor for the day, Amina Gurangji. So Amina Gurangji, her daughter's birthday is there. So we would, like to wish her daughter a very happy birthday on behalf of everyone
Happy
present
birthday.
here.
Yes, happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
She is
I've
the
relayed
founder.
a message to her.
Okay, great. She's the founder and chief executive officer of AMJ Institute of Early Childcare Education and Research, AMJ IECER, the first institute in Bhutan aimed at entirely dedicating itself to early childhood education and research. Prior to starting the institute, she taught educational to early childhood leadership, early childcare studies, research, and curriculum in the Royal University of Bhutan. While in the university, her pioneering works on the status of children in Bhutan, as well as feasibility studies, led to the present ECCD Demonstration Center in Paro College of Education, which serves as a model for ECCE Center in the country. A passionate educator and advocate of child safety and rights, she has published many research articles which can be accessed. We would share the links later. So thank you and once again welcome on behalf of everyone and Crossword.
Thank you very much.
Now from the land of Takens, we have Samantha Page. Sorry, land of Kangaroos, we have Samantha Page. So she's the CEO of Early Childhood Australia, a not-for-profit organization that works with government, early childhood professionals, parents, and various lobby groups to advocate for quality, social justice, equity in all issues related to education and care of young children. She also serves on the board of Perinatal Anxiety and Depression Australia. That's Panda. She has worked in the non-government sector for 20 years across varied roles encompassing executive management, management consulting, social policy analysis, advocacy, and the delivery of human services. She has overseen workforce development and scholarship programs, training initiatives, as well as consultation and evaluation projects that involved working effectively across government and non-government partners to support effective service delivery. Now, from our very own land of elephants, we have our very own Dr. Swati Popat Vats. And if any one of y'all have not read who are there associated with children or as parents as well, please read her book, which is co-authored by Vinita. So, Once Upon a Story, which is a book based on our very own Gijubai Badeka, Divya Swapna. So she is a persona in India, very well known. She's a global educator with more than 3 decades experience in the field of education and parenting. She's the president of Poddar Education Network and she's the founder of Poddar Jumbo Kids and Poddar Institute of Education. Early Childhood Association of India, and Association for Primary Education and Research. She is also the national representative of the World Forum Foundation and a member of the global think tank of Kidzania. She has authored, as I said, many books. She prefers to call herself a parenting mentor, as she believes every parent needs a friend, philosopher, and guide. So, thank you once again for being on this forum and giving your inputs. Now, I would formally like to request all of you to unveil the book virtually. So, from the land
So
of
you have
takens, from the
seen.
land of kangaroos, from the land of elephants. Yeah. So, congratulations once again.
It's a bit hard to see.
It's great to see a virtual launch. So, people are holding their
Yes.
phones as well as the books.
Mm.
Great.
Look forward to getting a copy.
Oh,
Sure.
yes, we will be couriering it to you. So thank you so much. Here we have the turkey, the kangaroo, and the elephant. And Harshil, thank you so much to
Thank you.
Crossword and to Right Place for publishing these books. I must say that Crossword is India's largest chain of bookstores, committed to bringing quality reading material to not only children but to parents and educators. And Right Place is their publishing wing, and Right Place is extremely selective when it comes to the kind of content that they bring and publish. So I must thank both Crossford and Right Place, and especially Harshal, you, because you've been my first connect to Crossword and to Right Place. And now, of course, Ketki and Rinky, thank you so much for all the coordination that you all have done to ensure that these three books become reality. And children can now enjoy these three books not only at your stores, but also you can buy them online from Amazon. Early Childhood Association and APER are extremely proud to partner with you in the publication of these books. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I would request ma'am now to take the session forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so happy that I have today with me three of my favorite educators. Amina ji, though I met her only recently, it looks like we have a kind of a bond which goes beyond the number of years or days that we've known each other. Karma is a passionate early childhood educator. And I always am in awe when I meet him and discuss with him the kind of work that he does for children in his country. And Samantha is somebody that I recently met when I went to Australia. And she was the one actually, though she doesn't know it, but she is the inspiration behind these three books, because she showed me my first kangaroo. And the whole experience started in Australia. Let me share with all of you why I thought of writing these books. When I went to Australia last year, all I wanted to do was to see my first kangaroo, because a kangaroo is an animal that you don't see anywhere else in the world except in Australia. And I would see a lot of animals that looked like a kangaroo. And I would ask people, is that a kangaroo? And they would say, no, that's not a kangaroo, that's a wallaby. So I just didn't end up seeing a kangaroo. And till I met Sam, and Sam said, you cannot go back from here without seeing a kangaroo. And she took me to the fields, the open fields, where I not only saw my first kangaroos, I also saw the joeys in their little kangaroo pockets. So it was a really amazing experience, which made me realize that, sometimes when children see similar looking animals, how do they make out whether this is that animal? So when I used to ask people, is this a kangaroo? They would give me all these, points that no, it's not a kangaroo because it's not tall. No, it's not a kangaroo because it's not got a pouch. No, it's not a kangaroo because look at this. And that gave me the idea for this book, especially for young children, because not many people know that when children are in the early years, it is their right brain which has kicked in. It is their right brain which works first. And that is why governments across the world say play based learning, because the right brain functions on play. But it is at the age of 3 that children start asking the question, why? They ask why for everything. That's called the why age. And it's because the left brain has kicked in. And this book is going to help children ask questions, because if you read the work of Piaget, you will understand that intuitive thinking is something that's also important to develop in children, and not only analytic thinking. Because when it comes to moral development and other things, it is your intuitive thinking that's going to help you. So when children ask their why questions, they are trying to use both kinds of thinking, their intuitive thinking and their analytical thinking. And this book is going to help children do that. So the many people find the title very catchy, that no, I'm not an elephant. What must it be meaning? So it's a story of two children who go to find an elephant, or who go to find a kangaroo, and who go to find a takin. And every time they see an animal, they say, are you an elephant? Are you a kangaroo? Or are you a takin? And the animal replies, why I am not an elephant or a kangaroo or a takin. So it's very important for parents and educators to understand that these little differences help children understand similarities, help children understand differences. And this builds their left brain thinking, which is so important in learning and development. So these books are unusual, not only in their title, they are unusual because they also cover a lot of unusual animals around the world, which many people are not knowing about. Especially when I researched and I found takin. And I said, wow, what a lovely word. And when I researched more and I found what kind of an animal, I said, oh my God, we never teach children about these kind of unusual animals. And Bhutan is our neighbor, a neighbor of India. And not many adults or children are even aware that there is an animal called takin, and it's the national animal of Bhutan. So when I wrote the book on kangaroo, I wrote the book on takin, and then I said, why to leave my motherland, India? And so I wrote the book on elephant. And especially there are so many animals in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which we are not aware of and we don't make our children aware of. So this is the history behind these three books. And I'm extremely honored that Crossword and Right Place decided to publish all three as a set. Thank you, all three of you, for being here. And let's start the conversation moving now. Amina ji, my first question goes to you. You have had a look at the book. What were your first thoughts when you had the look at the book, No, I'm Not a Takin?
Thank you for the question, Swati. I think my first impression was it immediately gave me a question, when somebody is saying, no, I'm not attacking, then what would there be? So that was kind of a discovery that was, that came to my mind. And I was thinking, in the mind of a young child, it would really enhance inquisitiveness in them when they saw the book. And when they, I'm sure when they hold a book and it says, no, I'm not attacking, then the next question comes, okay, then what, And then as you flip through the pages, you see all different kinds of animals. So the takin seems to be walking around, and then the question seems to be perennial. It goes till the end of the book, right from the first page. No, I'm not attacking, and then you go to the next one. Then who are you? Then there is another animal or a bird or an insect which introduces itself. I thought it was a wonderful presentation. I also thought it was very clever to catch the curiosity and interest of children. And I was really amazed with the puzzles and the algorithms and all those activities you have kept towards the end of the book. Something for parents, as a parent, I was looking at it myself, and I was finding, even I would find it a little challenging to really sit down. And I was thinking this would be a really interesting Sunday game or a Saturday time together to sit down with children and just go to the activities. So I think overall it's a wonderful presentation, as I said, and very clever, and something that will really arouse the interest and curiosities of children. So I think it's very good, Swati. I really appreciate the way you brought it.
Thank you so much, Amina ji. And I must share with you that the day I finished the book, No, I'm Not a Takin, is the day I met Amina ji. So I had reached out to Karma for something, and
Yes.
we met on that day. And I mentioned to her that, look at it, I just finished a book on Takin, and here I'm meeting somebody from the land of Takin. So it was such an amazing thing. It all fell
Yes.
together, you know.
Yes,
Wonderful.
both of us will have to thank Karma sir for introducing us, and I think I'd really like to thank Karma sir for that generosity that you introduced two of us, and then here we are today. I think it will be a long journey for all of us. So
Absolutely.
Karma sir, I
Absolutely.
have to thank you again.
Right. Thank you so much. Sam, this question is for you. You've also had a look at the book. What were your first thoughts when you saw the book?
Oh, look, I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a nice way to engage children in the question of what makes us what we are, who we are, how we tell the difference between different animals in a really playful kind of way. And I thought it was a lovely way to introduce children in other parts of the world to the unique animals we have here in Australia. So really well done, Swati. I think you've done a great job. But I think, it'll also be a fun book for services to have here themselves. As you say, there are some great activities there for children, but also it's that conversation piece around why is a kookaburra a kookaburra, why is a platypus, why is a kangaroo a kangaroo. So I think it's a lovely, fun way to introduce all those different animals to children both here and overseas.
That's wonderful, Sam. I think we will reach out to you to see how we can reach out to the services in Australia, because these three books are something I feel that should be in the toolkit of every educator and every parent, because it helps them help children explore the different animals around the world. So thank you so much for saying that. Karma, what about you? You've also had a look at the book. What were your first thoughts when you saw the book on Takin? Karma, you are on mute.
Somebody
So,
had to do it.
so congratulations to Swati and Crossword for the launch of this wonderful book, set of books. And I would like to particularly thank for, Swati's imagination for bringing to the fore of global awareness, particularly of the future generation, less known animals around the world. I think this is really important from the sustainability of the world point of view. Even if the kangaroo does not belong to Bhutan, the children in Bhutan need to know about the kangaroo. So likewise, the takin is here endemic, almost endemic to Bhutan, the kind of takin we have here. It is important that people around the world in countries like India and Australia know about them, because even one more person being aware of the existence of such rare animals helps to saving it in future. So that's the most wonderful part about this. In terms of the book itself, I think it's a wonderful job that you have done, putting it in a very exciting manner, so-called, we may say, in an age-appropriate language and exciting approach combined with the stimulating activities. I have not seen many books that combine all of those features. So really, we should thank you for on behalf of our children, and we look forward to having this book here all over Bhutan as well as around the world.
How sweet. Thank you so much, Karma, because I think you have put the finger on the a hidden pulse of this book is that I wanted children around the world to know of the unusual animals, which actually we as adults need to make them aware that even if the animal is not in your country, you still belong to that animal. That animal still belongs to you. This is our natural wealth. And if we make children aware of them, they will want to protect these animals. They would want to nurture these animals. And so you've really caught the pulse very well of the book. Thank you so much, Karma. And of course, I'm going to be sending you all copies both to Amina ji, Karma, and to Sam, because you all definitely deserve it. You all have written such a brilliant forward and introduction for the books. So I can't thank you all enough for that. Amina ji, I'm sure the listeners are very eager to know about a takin. What's a takin, you know? So I'm sure that you will also be the first person to show me my first takin. But tell me, what have your experiences been of takin sightings?
Um, I live just about, I think it's about 15 minutes walk uh, below the National Takin Zoo. So it's a
Oh,
national heritage.
Ah,
And yeah. So I just live next, just about 15 minutes walk. And I think my personal experience has been that of takins being very peaceful animals. They're very peaceful, and I've seen the males seem to like to stay alone, and the females seem to stay with the young ones. And it has, whenever we visit the Takin Zoo, it gives a kind of a combination of mystery and a combination of history also, mystery and history, some kind of religious. Sorry, can you hear me?
yes, yes, loud and clear.
Oh, okay. So some kind of history, because there is a historical story behind the takin, the animal takin, and I think the Bhutanese or the local folk lore goes something like a religious person who was being asked to show a magic, and and then he showed it by creating an animal which has a combination of different animals. So it looks like a goat. It also looks like an antelope. It looks somewhat like a block also, and so it's a combination of different animals, and you cannot really deny that also. When you go and really have a look at it, it has those characteristics. But at the same time, we also, scientifically or maybe intellectually, we tend to think that it doesn't exist, but it does exist, and I think that has been my personal experience. And it really gives a very nice feeling to just go there and just be, just watch them graze or laze around, and they're very peaceful animals, and it's always such a nice soothing feeling. It gives you a kind of meditative feeling to go there and be with them. So this has been my personal experience, and this is what I share with my children also whenever I go there.
That's wonderful.
I
I
hope
think
that
everybody,
answers your question.
okay. I think everybody that visits Bhutan must definitely have a look at the Takin, because usually people go to Bhutan as a tourist spot, but not many people are aware about its national wealth, like in animals, in flora and fauna. I think that is something that all of you who are listening, if you're going to visit Bhutan in the near future, go and have a look at the Takin, which is their national animal. Karma, can you tell us more about the Takin? Because when I was reading up on it, I read that it's a mythical animal. And then when I read more, I came to know that it's not actually mythical, but there is a lot of myth associated with the Takin. So can you share something about that?
That's true, Swati. Adding on to what Aminaji has just mentioned, it has significance both culturally as well as religiously. In the first place, here we respect all forms of lives, but apart from that, the takin is a special animal because it is the national animal of Bhutan. It was identified as national animal of Bhutan based on these legends, as Amina ji has just mentioned, about a Buddhist saint who combined a goat and a cow and made it into the animal it is. So even when you look at it, it's a very strange kind of an animal. So that's why it's special. And also, if you look around in the monasteries and temples, these are the takin is also depicted in the arts on the walls of temples. So, and biologically looking at it is also special because of course there are 4 different kinds of takins that are spread around Arunachal Pradesh in India, in some places in Sikkim, in Bhutan, in Myanmar, and on to China. So this Eastern Himalayan belt is the only place where we find takin in their natural habitats. But the one that we have here in Bhutan is endemic to Bhutan. So that's why it's a highly revered as well as protected animal in the country.
Wow. I'm looking forward to having a look at my first takin. I'm going to definitely want my first visit after the pandemic to Bhutan because I feel it's safer and I would love to have a look at the takin. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing so much about the takin. And Sam, as I say, I cannot stop telling people that you were the first one who showed me my kangaroo. Can you share more? Can you share more with all of us about what do people in Australia feel about kangaroos and what have your kangaroo sightings been like?
Yes. It was fun that day, wasn't it, Swati? I wish we'd had a bit more time. We could have found some more. But I live in Canberra and we have a lot of kangaroos all around our city. We're called the bush capital, which means we've got a lot of trees and a lot of open grasslands. And so the kangaroos are really common here. And they're common right across Australia, but you get different types of kangaroos. So here we have the eastern grey kangaroos. So they're not quite as big as your average grown-up person, but they do have a lot of joeys and a lot of teenage sort of equivalent young kangaroos, and they're very playful. So they like to box each other and play in the paddocks and the grasslands around Canberra. And so they're very popular with children, taking children out into places like Namadgi and Tidbinbilla. Are lovely places to go and have a picnic, and you can watch the kangaroos. And they'll usually put on a bit of a show. There'll be some of the young ones being a bit playful. In other parts of Australia, you get much bigger kangaroos. They're called red kangaroos, and they are the male red kangaroo is very large. Probably, some of them would be taller than me, and they look like they do weightlifting because they have big muscles in their arms and their chest, very strong. Yeah, and you do have to be a bit careful of them because if they think you're a threat, they can be a little bit dangerous. But mostly, kangaroos are very safe and easy to have around and don't really pose any threat to people. I think in Australia we're very fond of the kangaroo. We see it as quintessentially Australian. It's one of our national symbols. We're very fond of them, but there are a lot of them. They're not rare in the way that the takin sounds like it is. And I'm with you. I'd like to go to Bhutan and I'd like to see a takin. I didn't know about them before, but I'm keen to see one now. Whereas kangaroos outnumber people in many parts of Australia, and they travel in big groups. So they're quite easy to find when you've got a little bit of time.
Oh, wow. So you said the red kangaroos are taller than you, and Sam, you are quite tall. So I can imagine how these red kangaroos must be. Next time, I think I must have a look at these tall kangaroos also, because
Yes.
they look like very gentle animals, but I have seen in pictures and movies that they can kick quite ferociously if they are angry. So, yes, they are unusual. I mean, look at all three animals that these books talk about. The elephant is such an unusual looking animal, so huge and large, and yet is a vegetarian, And then you have the kangaroo, which is it's the only kind of an animal found in Australia. And you have the takin, which is again a very, very unusual animal. So, it's so important for children to be exposed to all these different kinds of animals. I think we have lost the connection with Amina ji. Oh, she's back. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy you are back right off the bat. Thank you.
I'm
So,
sorry, I think some problem with the net.
yes, I saw that. So, Amina ji, my question is to you. How important do you think it is to teach children about animals from other countries?
Oh, well, I think it's very, very important that, today we call ourselves to be living in a global village,
Mm,
and I think we need to know not only about different kinds of people, but also about the flora and the fauna of different parts of the world. And I think it's very important that children know about the animals, about the plants and the trees, and different kinds of cultures that are there. I think that is what we call in Bhutan as holistic education. Trying to give holistic education to children that's what it's about. That they know about the animals of different parts of the world. And I think through these books, a child in Bhutan will not only learn about what's a kangaroo, which is very much endemic to Australia, but also different kinds of animals that is found in Australia. So if a child is reading about No, I'm Not a Kangaroo, uh, in this book, I think a child will get to know about the other animals that is there in Australia. In the same manner, an Australian child who is in Sydney or maybe in Perth, when he or she gets to read this book on takin, he or she gets to learn not only about takin but also different animals that is found in the South Asian region of, the Asian region, and so with No, I'm Not an Elephant. So I think you have so many animals in one book, Swati, and just by getting one of these copies by the children and the parents, they will not only get one animal to know in detail about the animal, but also other animals. And I think it's very, very important that we share this knowledge with our children because they hold the future. And they will be the ones who will conserve nature. They will be the ones who will protect our animals. And not only just the animals belonging to one nation, one country, but also today, as I'm sure Samantha would know, but so many Bhutanese are working in Australia, and they're living there, and uh, and uh, and many of them would be undergoing the same kind of experience that Swati had. What's a kangaroo? And they might have heard it, but they may not have seen it. And but if as a child, if we're able to give them this, at least at the knowledge level, they would be very curious when they really see one. And I think it holds close to the heart because you know about it. So um, I think I would like to echo Maya Angelou's words. She said something like this: "If you know better, you will do better."
Ah,
Something like this.
Yeah,
Maya
that's
Angelou,
right.
American poet.
Yeah.
So when one knows about it better, then one will definitely want to do better for whether it's animals or mankind. So I think it's very important that children should
wow.
know about this
So
animal.
beautifully you have put that across, Amina ji. I'm sure a lot of educators and parents who are listening will definitely take that quote from you. And to all the listeners, this is the book on Takin. And that's the Takin that you are seeing. That's the Takin here. And what Amina ji was talking about previously is that every page there is a new animal and there is a question: Are you a Takin? And then there are these activities at the end, all games and activities for the children to do. And it also has songs. So there is a rhyme for each animal. So there is a whole page. So there's an activity page, and there is a whole page where there is more details about each animal and rhymes, etc. So it's a kind of a book that there is something for every age child. And Early Childhood Association is holding a workshop on these books, which we will let you know very soon. But thank you so much, Amina ji. I really love that quote of yours, because that really strikes a chord with us educators and parents, that how is it that children will benefit from knowing about these animals. Karma, coming to you. You've done a lot of work in curriculum, especially in early years. And, across the world, we have a way of doing curriculums where we teach children about common animals and we teach children about common birds. Recently, I shifted my residence, and where I used to live previously in the same city, the common birds that I would see were pigeons, crows, and parrots. And just a few kilometers away now, where I've come in my new home, the common birds that I see every day are kites, okay, and parrots, more than a crow and a pigeon. So when we teach children in curriculums about common animals, whose common are we taking? Because in that classroom would be a child who sees kites more than crows. So do you think that we should revisit the way we make these categories in our curriculum?
I think, yes, as Aminaji has mentioned, I think children have to be aware of everything that exists on this earth, and that's what they want to learn in their curiosity about the world, and also in their aspiration with regard to what they could possibly do and contribute in terms of being a citizen of the world. So therefore, I think while in early childhood we often emphasize on localizing curriculum, uh, I think it is also important, on the other hand, for children to be not just aware of their own environment, but also of the larger environment. So, for instance, in our country, we of course we are more widely known as the gross national happiness country. So, therefore, our curriculum is also aligned with the national aspiration of creating happy environments for all of its citizens. So therefore, it is the function of early childhood education to help children build foundations in their knowledge and awareness on these. In the process of doing that, we emphasize that children should not be aware of just the animals within their locality, but of all the animals eventually of the world. And that is because I think more and more animals are threatened. All kinds of animals, from crows, for example. We used to see crows all over the place in our valleys. Now we see less of them. That is because they are being threatened or poisoned, plastic poisoning, and also loss of habitat. And of course, for other animals like takin, there is the threat of being hunted down. So I think it's not just about knowing that a certain animal exists in a particular place, but also in knowing and understanding about why they live in a certain place. For instance, the kangaroo in Australia, and how they thrive in such an environment, and what we could do as global citizens collectively to help conserve these animals so that they can sustain throughout generations. So I think that's the important point. But apart from that, here in Bhutan, we also believe that even our wishes and prayers have energy that not physically but in some sort of an unseen way can contribute to creating positive vibes for anything that we think about. So therefore, when we think together as a world from different countries, I think that has some impact from a metaphysics point of view, as they also say that these kind of positive energy that each one of us create in our own small places could have a larger global and collective impact in saving lives, in reducing threats and disasters for all sorts of lives on this planet. So therefore, I think it's critical that children are exposed to and should be empowered to understand the dynamics of the environments in which different animals live and survive.
Oops. We lost Swati.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She's back.
I know. I think the
Must be my
connection
turn next.
threw me out. It just threw me out. It happens, I think, yes. So yes, Karma, I think you're absolutely right. And sometimes I always wonder, we say that the sparrow is a common bird, but we don't see sparrows now so commonly. So I think we really need to revisit the way we frame our early childhood curriculums. And taking from that, Sam, do you think that early childhood curriculums around the world usually focus more on the larger, more popular animals like the elephant and the tiger and the kangaroo, and forget the smaller, more unusual animals? Do you think that's the case?
Yes, possibly. But I think the wonderful thing about children's curiosity is that they're interested in all the animals, aren't they? The weird and wonderful, and the tiny, and the caterpillars, and the butterflies, and we have a lot of children looking at silkworms and the life cycle, and birds and eggs, nests, and there's so much scope there for learning. It's such a lovely way for children to learn about science, about biology, about how we classify animals, about the way the way animals live and how connected they are to the environment, and so why it's so important to take care of the environment and to have a sustainable planet. I think you're learning about animals and the rich curiosity that children bring to that it makes this book very timely and very, very appropriate. We lost you again for a minute, Swati, but you're back.
Yeah. I think I'm going to change my thing so that I can stay connected. But still, while it's allowing me to stay connected, let me ask my question to Amina ji. Amina ji, what is the importance of nature education in your country? Can you tell us about that?
I personally, at the policy level, I'm sure you're aware that we follow the policy of gross national happiness, which strongly advocates that happiness is what all human beings aspire for, and therefore happiness is gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product, GDP. And this was the philosophy that was that actually came from our fourth king, His Majesty the fourth king, and we strongly believe in this philosophy. So this is the overarching philosophy we follow here in Bhutan. And under this philosophy, under this policy of gross national happiness, we have what we call as the four pillars that basically makes up the policy and makes up the gross national happiness framework. And the four pillars are what They're called as number one is good governance, and number two is sustainable socio-economic development. So then number three is cultural preservation, and number four, the pillar number four is environmental conservation. So these are the four pillars that basically makes up what is the gross national happiness framework. Now, under the environmental conservation, of course, in the school curriculum,
Am I lost or is Amina ji lost?
I think Amina G is lost.
I'm
Okay.
lost.
Oh, she's back.
Now your voice is there.
Yes, can you hear me? Sorry.
We
Yes.
can now.
I think we will all keep blinking.
I mean, it's such a feat, that you are having right now. You are on a platform where you have Australia, Bhutan, and India together.
Yes.
I mean, it's a feat that we are managing all this in the virtual world.
Mm.
Continue, ma'am.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay. So as I was saying, the in the school curriculum, as I said, we follow something called Green Schools for Green Bhutan, and the idea green is quite metaphorical, and it's used, you know, as the nature is green and is always growing and is always vibrant. So our students, we like to think that we would like to make our students green in terms of not just the academic greenery, but also the other holistic domains of learning and development. So that way, nature education is very, very important for us. But I would like to personally believe that at the moment, I feel that more than the school curriculum or what happens in the school, because I think schools as a system tend to always take some time to really, um, uh, relay it into classroom activities or pedagogies. I tend to think in that manner. It does take some time. However, if we look at the larger environment of what is Bhutan, I see that nature preservation, nature education has been there throughout generations and generations, and our forefathers, our parents, everybody they seem to have really taken nature as an important learning platform for themselves, as well as as their parents, and therefore they're well preserved, protected, and almost revered as any teacher or as any parent. So, uh, for a child, I think for a child, what comes from the inherent culture in Bhutan
Yeah.
is more prominent than what is being taught in the schools. That is what I feel. In the school curriculum, we are more academic driven. As the children grow up, they tend to focus on physics and maths and and English and so on. But I think even when they are born itself, and then when as they live in their families and communities, nature education seem to permeate into the childhood of our children in Bhutan. So that way, our culture, our environment, our natural heritage, our communities play a very important role as nature educators, even more than our school educators. I'd like to believe that. I don't know if Karma sir will agree with me, but I think I believe in that. I think it is like that at the moment. However, I feel maybe because it's there in the policy level, it will change, and it might take some time, but hopefully, as strongly as we would want, it is not there yet. I think I'm being very honest.
No, that was a very honest and very pertinent reply that you've given. And especially in countries like India and Sri Lanka and Bhutan, Nepal, religion and culture play a huge role in nature education. So, Karma, you work at the grassroots level. So, how important is nature in your overall work?
Uh, I would strongly agree with what Aminaji has just said. I think that nature
Thank
is
you.
integral to who we are. But nature is also the life-sustaining force
Yes.
more so as we develop as a human society, because we can see the challenges with climate change, the quality of air that children breathe. All these are coming as challenges to human well-being. So in this sense, uh, according importance to nature around you is not just helpful for you personally, but also as a cover from the threats that are threatening the very life that we live, and also how well we live as human beings in our short life. So it is critical. It is critical. There is no question. It's critical and central to. Should be central to any kind of education. Now, even if we are not in a nature, in a country where nature is not accorded so much of importance, I think it is also part of nature for somebody as an individual to learn how to live sustainably, such as switching off lights when you don't need, using water sustainably, and so on. At the local level, this is ingrained into their daily lives. Here in Bhutan, fortunately, we have the culture is really strong, and what we believe as being important for us in terms of nature and nature education is ingrained in the lives of people in rural Bhutan. For instance, in the villages, we have forests, rocks, hills, trees are revered as having spirits of their own. So we, because of our belief system, we cannot harm them so easily or freely. Of course, there is no one forcing you not to do that, but it is within the culture, and it's not just about not harming them. We respect and protect these. For example, in the valley that I am in today, in central Bhutan, here people can go into the forest only in certain months. In some months, you are restricted from going into the forest. So when you relate that practice to science, we see that it coincides with the germination of seeds, where we stamp and trample the seeds and not let them grow, or that animals are just breeding so that we don't disturb them. So when we try and connect these two, there is what people used to believe as a tradition is still relevant from a scientific point of view today. So therefore, it is easy for us as education advocates to tell them that this is that nature as part of education is important, that trying to conserve animals is important, and that forests and trees are important for our well-being. So that's luckily we haven't spent all of our wealth in terms of nature.
Yes. And Karma, you came out with a very good word, eco-sensitivity, because I think that is what is required now, that we teach children about eco-sensitivity. And it comes from books like this, I have this book on Australia, the kangaroo. No, I'm not a kangaroo. And you will notice the number of different animals that are there, which are the wealth of Australia. Sam, you do a lot of work of the Early Childhood Australia. It's the largest early childhood association in Australia. I'm sure nature is a very important part of your work. So if you can tell us more about your work in nature education.
Yes, I mean, certainly in Australia, the outdoor learning environment is really important. And I think, Swati, when you were here and we visited some services, you saw that the
Yes.
outside learning areas are often bigger than the inside areas, and where much of the programming takes place. But increasingly in recent times, certainly over the last decade, those outdoor learning environments have become much more natural in their makeup. So whereas previously there might have been a lot of plastic climbing frames and toys and items, services have been replacing those with much more natural learning environments, and also taking children increasingly outside of services to go to parks and rivers and beaches and creeks and different places, recognising how important it is for children to be connected to nature and to learn about how nature works and why it matters and why we need to live more sustainably on this planet. So I think in Australia, the learning about nature, being in nature and being connected to nature is really important. The other thing that I think we need to do better, we do see more of this than we have in the past, but there's still a long way to go, is to learn more about the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander perspectives on the fauna and flora of Australia, the animals and the places, to hear the Dreamtime stories, to learn some local languages. There are over 300 different Indigenous languages in Australia, not one shared language, but many, many different languages. And so we are seeing increasingly books produced that teach children some words for places and animals in those First Nation languages, which is terrific, and also stories of place and stories of animals that can be shared with children, which is a way of connecting children to First Nations culture and language and history, which I think is there's just so much more we could do. I don't want to at all pretend that we're doing it well, but I think we're certainly, I think services are, and the profession of early childhood educators and teachers are embracing that more now than they ever have in the past.
Wow. Yes, I visited the centers with you, and I saw actually the children were out even in the sun. Here we are in our country, we are so careful. Children shouldn't be out in the sun. Parents will not like it. But when I visited your centers, some of your centers, the children were out the whole day in the sun, not in air conditioned rooms or, in temperature controlled environments. And it was really amazing to see their connect with nature. Really, really beautiful. So I have in my hand.
Tell
Yes,
people that they are wearing hats and sunscreen, and that there is shade
yes,
in the outdoor learning areas. But you're right. I think that I think Australia, similar to some of the Nordic countries, has a sort of there's no such thing as bad weather. There's just bad clothing. If you have the right clothing, you can go outside in all weathers, whether it's raining or it's sunny, whether it's hot or it's cold. And I think it's important for children to have that sense of connection and space and ownership of the space.
Absolutely. I hope the nature kindergartens and the forest kindergartens, they really catch on across the world, because as you rightly said, it's not bad weather, it's bad clothing. It's just you can put on your raincoats and your rain shoes and go out in the rain. But we try to overprotect children, I think, from nature, which is what is not good. So I have in my hand now your book on No, I'm Not a Kangaroo, and I'm going to just read one page. So it gives you an idea of the kind of story, how it evolves throughout these 3 books. It says, are you a kangaroo? And the answer is, I'm large. I'm not an animal. I'm an insect. See my wingspan. I am the Hercules moth. I fly and cannot hop. So no, I am not a kangaroo. So this is how the entire book, every animal answers about themselves. And every time the animal answers, there is a distinction given about why I am not a kangaroo. And I'm going to sing a song which is given in the book on the kookaburra. And the kookaburra is another, again, unusual bird which is found in Australia. And many people must be knowing this song. It says, Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. Merry, merry king of the bush is he. Laugh, Kookaburra, laugh. Kookaburra, happy your life must be. Kookaburra lives in the old gum tree, eating all the insects he can see. Laugh, Kookaburra, laugh. Kookaburra, happy your life must be. So these are the simple songs and rhymes which have been given in the three books. And it's very important for children to be exposed to different forms of teaching them ideas about animals or any concept. Because as I said, it is their right brain which is the most active at this age. And that is why when they listen to a song which tells them about an animal, or they do an activity which tells them about an animal, it gets more interesting for them, and retention also happens, and they get attached to that learning. So I'm going to come to Amina ji now, and we have very little time left. So we'll just have to keep our answers in brief because it's the last question to all of you. So my question to Amina ji is, uh, what do you feel about the overall book and its activities, etc.? Do you think there should be something that could be added, or do you think that the rhymes and activities are exactly a good combination for children?
Um, well, I think I think overall it's a wonderful piece, as I said. It's a wonderful work of art, I would like to call it, because it's just like a painting, you know. It's just like you're painting different shades there for parents as well as for children, and some of the information given there, especially about each of these animals, you know, it's quite intense. Like for example, if you're giving any giving information about Asian fairy bluebird, and you have all the details, you know, what kind of food does it eat, what is the lifespan, what are the other facts, what is the habitat, where does it live, and all that. So this is something for the parents to really refer, and then go into the the coding exercises that you have given there. So I would like to think, I think it's a wonderful piece of work. I don't know if there is anything I can suggest at the moment. I think overall it's a good book. It's a good piece. So at the moment, no, sorry. But maybe in the second edition, we can, once we have the hard copy, we go over it. Maybe we will use it with our children once. And then as we go along with the experience, maybe in the second edition, we will definitely be able to give you some feedback. At the moment,
Thank
no,
you.
sorry. It's a wonderful piece.
Thank you for two things, Amina ji. One, saying that there will be a second edition, and two, that you use these books with the children. I'm definitely going to send you some more copies
Yeah.
ASAP. Sam,
Ah,
Sam, coming to you. How are the children, the littlest children in your country right now, getting their learning? Are you all open, or is it all virtual?
No, services have been open most of this year right across the country. There are sort of localised lockdowns, so mostly in Melbourne, but also some more recently in Brisbane. So where there have been COVID cases, there tends to be a localised lockdown, but services broadly were operating right through the pandemic, and Australia has done a really good job, I think, in suppressing COVID. So it's been relatively safe for children to attend early childhood education and care, which has meant that there was a time when families were keeping children at home, but if they were emergency workers or health workers, their children could still attend. But really, we're mostly back to full rates of participation now.
Wow, that's very good, because in India, our preschools have been closed for over a year, and our youngest are getting everything virtually. So parents do find it difficult to find daycares, especially the working parents. And now we are in our second wave, and we don't know when we are going to recover. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed. So y'all are really lucky that y'all are able to keep things open for your youngest citizens. schools, really. Karma, what about you all in Bhutan? How are things for the youngest citizens there? How are they learning?
Yeah, I think we have also as a country done quite well in managing and mitigating the threat of community transmission.
Okay.
So therefore, the environment is really conducive for children to be in their happy groups. So the government has directed all kinds of early childhood centers and schools to be open and have children going to schools, because they do really need to have that experience they missed for so long in 2020. So I think all children are now happily in their schools and early childhood centers.
Wow, that's really amazing. I think, in larger countries like ours, it's very difficult to curtail community transfer. And that's why it's amazing work that the other countries have done. And I think in the first wave, we did very well. We were able to contain it to a large extent. But parents were very worried about sending their children to preschools. So even the ones that did open in some states had very little attendance. And we are now hoping that the adults everywhere will become more careful so that children don't miss out on their learning. So I have with me now the elephant book. And if you can see the number of animals that's there in the elephant book also. And to all those of you who are even living in India, you wouldn't have seen this animal. So it's very important to understand it's called the Nicobar pigeon. And Andaman and Nicobar Islands is part of India. And not many Indians have visited the island, and it is rich in flora and fauna. And that's why in the book on No, I'm Not an Elephant, I have taken a lot of animals, birds, and insects from Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So it is an absolutely fantastic place off the Indian coast, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to visit. So I urge all of you who are listening to us today. Uh, no, I'm not a takin. No, I'm not a kangaroo. And No, I'm Not an Elephant is a set of 3 books published by Scholastic Right Place. And it's a must have for the children around the world, I feel. And it's a must have in your collection of books in your schools. Please do go on Amazon to buy them. And I would like to now personally thank Sam. It is almost, I think, 9:30 in the night in Australia. And Sam is on holiday and she has still come on this show. So, Sam, really thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Just for you, Swati, only for you.
That's so kind of you. You don't know what it means to me. And I promise you, we'll invite you to India soon and I will show you your first Indian elephant.
Excellent. I can't wait. And I'm going straight to Bhutan to see the takin afterwards.
And Amina ji, it's your daughter's 21st birthday. A very happy birthday to her. And it means a lot to me that we have not even met. And yet you have been kind enough to support the book, write the foreword, and be here in this show. I can't thank you enough, really.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. Okay.
Thank you. And Karma, I have known you since so long. And I'm always amazed that you never age. How do you do that? You just and your passion just keeps increasing. And when I'm in your company, I always feel we have to do more. It's so contagious, your dedication and your passion. Thank you so much for writing the brilliant introduction to the book on Takin. And thank you for being here on this show.
Thank you so much, Swati. You are one of my inspirations. So you also virtually give us a lot of energy and positive vibe from what you are doing, because we are connected on social media. So that's a great source of energy for us. And for me, it's a real privilege and an honor to be part of this launch and the conversation. It has really been very enriching, and also meeting up with not just you, but Sam and Amina ji. Of course, with Amina ji, we meet quite often. So thank you for this experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again, all of you. I'll be sending you your copies. I'm going to send you 10 sets each, and then you can let me know after you have used them at different centers what their feedback is, because we would love to incorporate their feedback. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Look forward to seeing you in Bhutan.
Yes,
both of
very
you. Both of you.
Lovely.
I've been
Thank
there
you.
a long time.